In this video, we're going to explore how to round to a given significant figure. So before we get started, let's just make sure we understand what rounding to a significant figure means. Let's consider a number, 873. If I'm asked to round this to one significant figure, this means I'm allowed one number to be anything other than 0, and that is always from the left. So if I was rounding this, and I'm going to write 1SF to what that means for one significant figure, that's going to be 900, because that is the number closest to 873 that has just one non-zero value. Okay, now if I wanted to round this to two significant figures, then from the left, I'm allowed to only have two numbers that are non-zero, and everything else has to be 0. So in this case, it would be 870. If I wanted this number rounded to three significant figures, then that would be 873, just as it is to start with, because I have three non-zero numbers at the front. So in general, this is how we do it, but we have to be a little careful. In some cases, there are a few nuances we need to work through. So let's use these examples to help us understand those. So in this example, we're asked to round each number to three significant figures and to 3 decimal places. And this is really going to help us to understand the difference between the two ideas. So for A, if we look at this number, we're going to round to 3 significant figures. So this will be 4730, 4,730. Now, we do not need to write the extra zeros that were place value markers for the previous work. We're just going to leave it exactly like that, and we are finished. So that is part 1, significant figures. If I was going to round to 3 decimal places, I'm really going to leave the answer exactly as it is. I am allowed to have 3 numbers after the decimal place. Okay, for B, 4.7361 is going to become 4.74, because I have 3 numbers that are not 0, because I'm asked to round to 3 significant figures. And again, you don't need to write in the zeros at all. In fact, you absolutely shouldn't. That is fine. Okay. Now, if I am rounding this to 3 decimal places, that would be 4.736. I'm allowed 3 numbers after the decimal place, not 3 numbers in total. Okay, for C, well, to 3 significant figures, that is going to be 418, because I'm closer to 418 than 417, because I've got a 9 there. And just like with decimal places, I'm rounding up. Part B, to 3 decimal places, well, this would be 417.924, because this 5 means I need to go up to 4 rather than down to 3, and that is why we have a 4 there at the end. Okay, on to D. Now, when we are rounding to significant figures, we do not count these numbers to the left. Okay, they're just place value markers. They're not really the start of the number. So if I'm rounding a number, we're going to slightly break our rules about starting to the left here. Our number to 3 significant figures is 0.0562. Our first significant figure is the 5. Our second is the 6. Our third is the 2. We do not start from that 0. It's just a place value holder so we can understand the number. So there's going to be our answer to 3 significant figures. To 3 decimal places, 0.056. When we talk about decimal places, that 0 does count. Okay, it's the number of spaces after the decimal place. So decimal places are a lot easier to understand because they're always set, whereas a significant figure rounding can move around depending on the size of the number. Let's carry on and finish this off by doing E. So to 3 significant figures, this number becomes 0.00472. To 3 decimal places, 0.005. Okay, let's look at one final example, just something a little different to help us understand this even better. The number of spectators that enter a football ground for a big match is 44,851. Write this number correct to 1, 2, 3, and 4 significant figures. To one significant figure, this number will be 40,000. We can only have one number that isn't 0, and 44,851 is closer to 40,000 than 50,000. To two significant figures, this is 45,000, 45,000, because the 8 tells us we need to go up. It's closer to 45,000 than 44,000. To three significant figures, this is 44,900, 44,900, because we are looking at that 5, and it's going to be a 5 is going up closer to 44,900 than 44,800. To four significant figures, this number will be 44,850, because that 1 is telling us that we're closer to the 50 than the 60. And I want to emphasize this point. There is just one number that is not 0 for one significant figure, 2 numbers for 2, 3 numbers for 3, 4 numbers for 4. Okay, let's move on to part B. Which of your answers to A makes the number of spectators appear the largest? Well, that would be actually rounding it to 2 significant figures. Which value is going to make it look the smallest? Well, the smallest actually is to 1 significant figure, 40,000. Now, just before we end this video, I want to have a look at a difficult case study of something that will cause us problems. Let's pick something like this, 0.02908994002. Okay, this is a really complex number, but let's just make sure we really understand this, and hopefully just check we understand a few things a little better. I'm just going to change one number there. Let's make that there look a 1. Okay, now if I was rounding this number to 1 significant figure, hopefully you will understand what that is. It's 0.03, because these don't really matter. They're just place values. So the first number is going to go like in this position. And because of that 9, well, it's going to go up to a 3. Okay. Now, if I wanted this number to 2 significant figures, this is going to be 0.029, because I'm allowed to have 2 numbers and the first one is still there in that position. That 9, look, is the second significant figure. Okay, now, this is where it gets a little complicated. So if I wanted this number to 3 significant figures, well, that's going to be 0.029, and we're going to have to write a 0. We're just going to have to write it because nothing else makes sense. And even though it is a 0, it is defined to be one of my significant figures, and that's why we don't put extra zeros on the end, because in this case, it really does matter. That is a significant figure. If I was doing 4 significant figures, 0.02902, that number, that 0, is one of our significant figures. We can write zeros, but only if the rounding is appropriate. Okay, I hope that helps you with rounding to a given significant figure.